Hi everyone, this is Morris from the Fort Lee Public Library, and I'm back again here for part 2 of our pasta class. In part 1, we made the dough, and I kneaded it, showed you how to knead it, and then we wrapped it in some plastic, let it rest, and now that it's done resting, I unwrapped it, and I divided it into 2 pieces, and here is one of the pieces. And what I'm going to do is dust it and the work surface with some more of the semola, and I'm just giving it a little bit more of a knead here, shaping it into a ball. And then what I'm going to do is, with this bench scraper that I've got right here, which is a little handy tool for picking things up, cutting dough. You could also do this with a knife, of course. I'm just going to divide the dough into 2 pieces. Okay, I'm going to take one piece and I'm just going to put it aside for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this piece and I'm just going to start rolling it into a bit of a snake. Okay. So when you're doing this, what you want to do is start from the middle and then you're pushing out with your palms. So again, it's not going to be perfectly even. We can always even it out later. That's not super important. For now, we're just trying to work this out into narrower length of dough. And this dough, you heard me say this before, if you're used to working or you made pasta with eggs before, that dough is a lot lighter. It's a lot more delicate. So you have to give it a much softer touch. This dough is a lot tougher dough made from semola. So as you can see, I've really been, laying into this dough. And if I was doing this with a dough that had been made from eggs and flour, this would have already broken, just eggs and white flour, because it wouldn't be this strong. Okay, so again, you don't really have to worry about breaking this or being too delicate, because it is pretty tough. So you can see we've got a little snake here about the length of my table. So what I'm going to do is then cut this in half, put one aside, and I'm going to continue to roll this out a little bit more because we want it to be a little bit thinner. In terms of the size of the pasta, it doesn't have to be, again, it's never exact. I'm just doing this to a certain size, which is the more traditional size, the size that I learned how to make. If you want to make them smaller, bigger, by all means, go right ahead. So again, this takes a little bit of rolling. You're gonna have to push a little bit. Typically, again, pressing down with the middle of your 2 hands and sort of pushing out. Okay? And that will give you another sort of snake kind of length here of pasta. And then you just want to spread that out across the table. And I'm going to go ahead and actually cut this one more time and place these over here. And just a little bit, I would like this to be just a little bit thinner. Almost there. Okay. this is pretty much the width that I'm looking for. Maybe a 1/4 inch or so. Okay. Okay, you can see it's a pretty hardy pasta. It's not going to break. I can lift this up like this and it will stay together. So from here, there's 2 different shapes that I'm going to show you how to make. The one that you've probably heard of is cavatelli. So cavatelli is a kind of pasta that is made almost all over Italy. Depending on the part of the country that you're in, it's made with different kinds of flours, different kinds of ingredients. Sometimes it includes cheese as well, typically ricotta, and it's shaped slightly differently, but usually it takes the shape of a kind of longer, kind of shell-shaped pasta. The specific version of cavatelli that I'm making is the cavatelli from Puglia, cavatelli pugliesi, which tend to be kind of shorter and a bit stubbier. So in order to make that, what you're gonna do is you take just a basic plain kitchen knife here, right? And I'm gonna cut off maybe a 1/4 inch of dough from the end here, right? So I got this little piece of dough, and then it doesn't really matter what it's shaped like. It doesn't need to be perfectly cut. You know, again, these are all gonna be irregular, handmade. That's the point of handmade pasta, is it is irregular. And so you take that little piece of pasta here, okay? And what you're gonna do is hold the knife this way, okay? With your hand sort of on top of the blade. This isn't really a sharp knife, so you're not gonna cut yourself, or I'm not gonna cut myself. I suggest using, again, just a basic kitchen knife. Even a butter knife actually is probably even better because it doesn't have the ridges. You're not gonna, so you don't cut yourself. The idea is to not cut yourself. So you hold the blade sort of parallel to the dough, kind of on top of it. And then basically what you're gonna do is you're just gonna push down, and then you're gonna pull towards yourself, and then you'll see the dough kind of rolling over itself, and then it makes a sort of shell. Let me try that again. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna dust this knife a little bit with some of that semola, because otherwise the dough will stick a bit. So actually, let's try that again. So I'm gonna cut off a little piece of dough here, and then I'm just going to press it like that, okay? Roll it over, and that's it. It's just a little sort of seashell kind of shaped pasta that rolls off my hand. And then, as I said before, the best way the best thing to do with your pasta is, after you make it, after you've shaped it, is put some of that semola on a baking sheet like this. Just spread some out, and then you just pile the pasta on there, and then that semola helps to keep it from sticking. So again, cut off a little piece, and then you just push it with your knife like this, and it will roll over itself. I'll show you a couple more. Again, don't worry if it doesn't look super pretty. It's not a restaurant. You're just making these at home. It will still taste good, whether it looks beautiful or not. And of course, this is the sort of thing that, you know, the more you do it, the better it will look. You know, like most things, just takes a little bit of practice. Again, just cut off a little nub, hold, press down, okay? And then you just keep doing that. Push down towards yourself. The dough will roll over onto itself, forming a little sort of seashell. Again, same shape onto itself. And then you would just keep doing that over and over and over again. There's quite a bit of dough here, so this would probably take a while to do all of this. I'm not going to subject you to that. So I'm just gonna make a couple more cavatelli, and then I will show you the second shape, which is probably the most famous pasta from Puglia, which is called orecchiette, which just means small ears, little ears. And orecchiette are from the capital city of the region of Puglia, which is Bari. And if you go to the old part of Bari, you will see that there's a street. In particular, there's one street, but you really see this all over. There's specifically one street that is famous. The name of the street escapes me off the top of my head, but there are a number of old ladies who just sit out there they set up a table right outside of their homes, their apartments, and they just sit there all day rolling pasta and shaping them into cavatelli and orecchiette, like machines, just nonstop all day, every day. They're out there making pasta, and you can buy bags from them. They also supply lots of restaurants in the area, and it's really a sight to behold. You can actually look it up on YouTube. There's lots of videos of these women. They're pretty famous, the ones who make the pasta. If you just search on YouTube for Bari pasta, Bari orecchiette, I'm sure it'll come up. You'll see it. They are obviously much better at this than I am. They practice a lot more than I do. I have to admit, I'm a little rusty, a little out of practice. Haven't done this in a while. But again, after you make a couple, you sort of get the rhythm. It takes a little bit of time, but it comes back to you. So you just keep rolling these little shapes. Okay, so as far as the orecchiette go, that's a little bit more advanced, let's say. What you're doing there really is you are rolling out a cavatelli, and then you are turning it inside out with your thumb. So again, cut off a small piece, and then with your knife, flat on top, pressing down and then pushing towards yourself to make the cavatelli. Then you're going to take that off, and then you are going to hold it over your thumb, and then you're just going to press down over your thumb. Okay? Again, this is an irregularly shaped pasta. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to take a couple of tries. Even, as you can see, someone like myself who has done this several times over, it's not the most simple thing, but in the end, you will end up with something looking like that. Looks like a tiny little hat, if you will. And I'll make a couple more here for you. Actually gonna cut off a larger piece of dough. I think that might make it a little bit easier to see. So again, same process, press down towards myself, make that orecchiette, then use my thumb to push, and basically you just kind of you can also just use your thumb as a guide, and then you basically just pull the dough over and around your thumb like that. Okay, and then you want to just sort of push it off. You can try to make it look a little bit prettier. Again, it's meant to look handmade and unique, like a snowflake, each one. Okay. And again, press the pasta down into a cavatelli. Use your thumb. Push. Right? You can always go like this. And I want to dust your hands again. I should probably do that just so it doesn't stick too much. Again, if it does, like what's happening right now, and breaks, the pasta is very forgiving. You can really just push it right back into place. And there you go. Again, and you just keep repeating that, doing it over and over and over again. Like I said, it's the kind of thing that it's, you know, does take a little bit of skill here, but after doing this for a little while, you will catch the hang of it. It's really not that difficult, I promise. Okay, again, just go over your thumb like that and make one. When I was making these originally, when my grandmother showed me, you know, she's 90 years old. She hadn't made them in years, probably, when she showed me. And the ones that she made all looked pretty much perfect. The ones I made looked awful at the beginning. But as we kept going, as we had, you know, 500 grams of dough, kept going, doing it. Eventually, mine started to look better, a little bit more, not quite as good as hers, but eventually they did start to look better. And so, like with anything else, you know, just takes a little bit of practice, but it's a fun little project. And the best part about the project is that you get to eat the fruits of your labor here when you're done. So I'm not going to sit here and roll out all of these because that would take quite a while, but I'm going to do one more and then I'll show you what to do with the pasta after you've actually shaped it. So again, pressing down, shaping it into a cavatelli, then putting it on your thumb and pushing outwards to make that little hat shape. Okay. So what I typically do is after I've put the pasta on the sheet pan here that I covered with dusted with some semolina, I stick this in the freezer for about a half hour. What happens is it will freeze solid, half hour, and then once it's frozen solid, you can just take it and stick it into a Ziploc bag and then throw it in your freezer. And then from there, you can cook it directly frozen from your freezer. You just, you know, just bring a pot of water to boil, salt it, and then just throw the pasta right in there. As soon as it'll come to a boil, the pasta will, when you add it, it will start to rise after a few minutes. I would maybe give it like a minute or two after the pasta has risen to the top of the water, and then you're done. You just, you know, typically fresh pasta cooks a lot quicker than dried pasta, so really only a few minutes. And then you would just, you know, drain the pasta out of the water. You know, traditionally the best way to do it is, you know, of course you want to mix the pasta with whatever sauce you're using and not just dump the sauce on the pasta. So what I do is I heat up whatever sauce I'm using in one pan, and then I make the pasta in the other pan. I have a little spider, or because it's nice to keep some of that pasta water as well if you need to thin out whatever sauce you're using. So I have a little spider, which is like a tiny little strainer, and I use that. I'll pull the pasta out of the water and then just dump it right into the sauce, mix it up. If it's dry, just take a little bit of that extra pasta water you have, throw it in there to sort of thin things out, and then that's it. If you're looking for any kind of sauce suggestions for what to make with this pasta, just look online, Google orecchiette, cavatelli pugliesi. You'll see the most famous dish that's made with orecchiette is orecchiette with cima di rapa, which is, here the closest equivalent would be broccoli rabe, which is something you find in the supermarket. It's a cousin of broccoli. It has a smaller head, a longer stem, and that's usually blanched or sauteed with some garlic and then mixed up with the pasta. Sometimes you'll also see, if you eat meat, some sausage in there, or also another great way to have this pasta is just with just basic tomato sauce mixed up with that. And then on top is shaved what's called ricotta salata, which is ricotta, the kind of the cheese. It's dried and salted to the point where it becomes an actual kind of firm block that you can shave. That's a traditional type of cheese from Puglia, and that is typically served with tomato sauce and this kind of pasta. Or you can also serve it with really just about any pasta sauce. Those are my suggestions for a traditional pairing, but really you can, this pasta will pretty much pair with just about any kind of sauce. So good luck, have fun, and if you have any questions, just come and find me at the Fort Lee Public Library. You can go ahead and send us a message through our social media if you have any questions, concerns. And I'd be happy to try and help troubleshoot your pasta problems. Take care.